I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 108 of the Parenting Autism podcast. 108, isn't it great?
108. Yes, it's great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I just had the buffalo chicken Domino's pizza.
You want to give it a food review?
I'll give it a review.
Give it one.
Out of 10, I'd say it was a 7 because it needed more buffalo sauce.
And more buffalo sauce would have shot it from a 7 up to a 10?
I think so because I wasn't getting the buffalo part. Like they do the little sprinkles of the sauce, but it just wasn't enough sauce.
Yeah.
I like my wings saucy, so I probably would like the pizza saucy.
Well, now you know to ask for extra sauce next time.
That's right. And they're running a special this week, 50% off, which ends today. And that's why I tried it.
I know. I, too, tried something since it was 50% off. And Bryce and I eat gluten-free crust from there. And actually, their gluten-free pizza is one of the best ones that I've had. So, and we've tried several places.
Yeah. Bryce
loves just cheese, so he won't share with me because he wants to eat the whole thing. So I have to get my own, and that's fine. But I love their Italian sausage. I'm not saying that it loves me, but I do enjoy it. But today, I added a little extra sauce. I got my Italian sausage, added some meatballs, which they call beef, but it's like meatballs cut up. Added my mushrooms and diced tomatoes. And let me tell you, I will give it a 10. And I will order it again when it's 50% off.
Nice.
Thank you, Domino's.
It also triggered
and that was all free. They didn't pay us to endorse it.
No, they didn't.
Go ahead.
We are not affiliated with Domino's.
No, we're not.
Consult your physician before eating Domino's pizza. May cause harmful side effects, including gas and bloating and blowing your nose.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I should talk like on the TV
Yeah,
with the disclaimer. Could cause death.
That's about it.
What are we doing here? Anyway, so yeah, I might be coughing because I have this allergy to bread or something, or cheese or whatever. Makes my nose run. And so
that's okay. I said, let's do a podcast. It's been 3 weeks and things keep happening. And
well, let's start out with the most important thing.
What is the most important thing?
We're repainting the office and we need opinions. So we went to Sherwin-Williams is having a paint sale, and y'all got to be fast on this because it ends tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're trying to decide between teal.
Tantalizing teal.
Or what's the other?
Cloudless blue.
Cloudless blue.
Which would be like a blue sky with no clouds in it.
Yeah.
Kind of lighter on the lights.
It's not sky blue.
No.
It's light blue.
It's richer.
Yeah. It's like it has a hint of clouds.
Yeah. So it's like, how do we do the podcast in this office. So how do we want the vibe to be? Do we want it to be a calm blue or I don't want to say tantalizing teal because I don't know. Tantalizing make me think of other things, but like invigorating.
Well, I'm looking at
teal?
the two swatches right now.
And what are you thinking?
And the blue is definitely calming.
Yeah.
And the teal is like, are you sure you want to come in here?
I'm leaning on the blue.
Are you?
I don't know. Although the teal is fun.
Blue?
No. For whatever reason, maybe we do need to have a sense of okay, so for those who can't see our office, right now we have it's like a
Southwest orange.
Yes, a Southwest orange. Think of Santa Fe, and that would be our walls. And we wanted that to be energetic.
And it has.
And it has been, but
energy.
It's been up for...
It's tired.
It's very tired. It's probably been 18 years since we painted this office.
So if you want to vote teal or blue,
And
text us to 772-265-3233 right away and
Repeat
let us
it.
know what your vote is.
One more time.
772-265-3233.
All right.
Okay.
Blue
now that
or
we've
teal?
covered the most important thing.
Let's go to the second most important thing.
What's the second most important thing?
You told me that you might be getting tired of the podcast. And I said, save that conversation for the podcast.
I said, I feel like I'm losing a little love for it.
Yep. And I said, really? Tell me why.
I feel like we're using our Sunday time or, time off from the madness to do a podcast. So, and what is the podcast doing for us? Like, we're having conversations, but is it really helping people out there? It's like, it's been quiet. We haven't really gotten messages through email because, well, we have. It's people wanting to promote their books or promote whatever they're selling.
Wanting us to do something for them.
So, for our audience, we filter all that for you. So,
correct.
But we haven't really had a review in a long time online on a podcast. And
That's
I'm
true.
like, man, well, maybe they're losing love for us. Maybe
that's true.
I don't know. It's hard to say because
We don't know.
we don't know.
We've tried to say feedback helps. I get it. I mean, I was looking at it yesterday when we were on the road traveling for Bryce's neuropsych appointment. And I pulled up the podcast for some reason. I wanted to see what we were categorized at because I was looking for another podcast. And then I saw that we had 46 reviews. And then I think about, we've been doing this since 2018. So it's been almost 5 years. I know we're not on here all the time, but we've still done 108. That's what we're on. 108 times that we've come on here to share. And out of 108 times, we only have 46 reviews. So I can see what you're saying. And it's interesting because people will write us and tell us how great it is and how it's helped them.
But that's kind of like...
But they don't leave the reviews.
Well, yeah, they don't leave the reviews. And then, we can see like how many downloads there are. And there's a lot of people listening to the podcast. But we don't really hear from them a lot. So... But I know we're reaching people around the world because the thing says that we're ranking in Saudi Arabia and places over in the Middle East. It's really surprising. Like, we're really highly ranked over there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I need to feel some love.
I think you need to feel, and I get that. I do. It is always very encouraging when we hear from listeners who let us know
Through a review.
How this is helping them.
Yeah.
And reviews helps, it helps other people
Find us. Yeah.
And see that it's bringing value to people.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have been looking at our schedules more closely.
I think that's another reason because our schedule is so tight now.
Yeah.
Like, we have switched all therapies pretty much and we got new doctors. We got, the neuropsych guy. I've switched my work schedule around.
I know. And he's got Special Olympics. He's doing his gymnastics now.
We got a lot
of fun for him. But that we have to put fun in there because he works so hard. And
I'm talking about the podcast.
I'm saying we put a lot of things on our schedule that are fun for him. Talking about Special Olympics.
And possible social opportunities.
And honestly, right? Bryce loves that we do the podcast, but he only wants to be on here a few minutes. But when he just said, "You're doing the podcast," he goes, "I hear you say you're doing Parenting Autism podcast." I said, "Yes." And he gave 2 thumbs up and says, "Epic." I said, "Yeah, you want us to do it?" And he's like, "Yes." And that's because he wants to tell you all about the trophy that he got for finishing 3rd grade. Now, granted, he finished at 3rd grade a couple months ago, but each year you have gotten him a trophy.
Little trophy.
That says the year on it. It's got a globe on it.
Completed whatever grade.
Yep, and Daddy School.
Mm-hmm.
And today, it's just touched his heart that he has it. He's sharing it with Auntie Sue virtually, and he wants to tell people about it. I know he's growing into this podcast is probably my point. When we started this, he couldn't even put sentences together.
Yeah.
But now He knows we do it. He now will tell people, "Hi, I'm Bryce Coulter. I have autism." Like, he has no shame in it, which is what we have modeled for him, that it's nothing to feel bad about. It's something that, you've been created to think in an extremely unique and special way that helps us see the world in a different and better way, in my opinion. But I understand completely what you're saying. So when you said we don't get the reviews before we brought this behind the mics, I just quickly said, oh, I don't think we really ask for them. Like a lot of other podcasters that I hear. And I think it's because we don't want to come across as begging and needy.
Right. A lot of podcasters will ask every time.
And maybe
show.
That's what you're supposed to do so that, repetition aids learning, or if you hear it often enough. But we don't want to be that way. But
I'm just thinking about my Sunday.
Like to have that.
My Sunday is, a day of rest and reflection. And, I played my guitar today for the first time in a long time, which felt great. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get to painting later, because that's a new hobby of mine, is painting. And I don't know if I would have done that today, but I'm here doing a podcast, right? So...
And why couldn't we do it on a different day? Because it's a little difficult. Like yesterday,
our schedule is nuts.
We prioritized helping Mom and Dad with their move.
Well, Sundays is our day to do our own things, right?
Sunday is the day to do the podcast, because I just feel like we're home, it's quiet, it's relaxing.
Maybe Saturday.
But you've mentioned Sunday twice talking this out, so maybe it's the fact that we're doing it on a Sunday now that's bothering you most.
Maybe.
In addition to not getting feedback.
It's not stressful.
I get that.
It's not stressful to do this.
No.
It's just, it's time consuming, of course. The time that we're talking plus, editing and publishing or whatever, it takes time to do all those things. So anyway, on to new ththings.
On to new things. I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Maybe we'll get a review. You even said a prayer.
Maybe we'll get a review.
You even said a prayer before we started. And Lord, let us get at least one review. Won't you answer Chris's prayer?
Oh, that'd be
Put a review on there. Somebody.
Yeah, God's going to tell somebody.
All right.
Hey.
So, today. Let's just... Man, I got the coffees too.
I know.
Anyway, I was going to talk about parent training, because we've been doing a bit of that with Miss Felissa, and I want to just share the benefits of that.
Listen, I'm old. I don't need parent training. I'm just kidding.
I know. But I also had a few funny stories to share about Bryce.
Okay.
So we don't have to make this super long. You can get back to your painting.
No, it's okay.
It'll be good.
I'm here.
But
actually, it's kind of nice right now because we don't have to worry about interruptions because he's playing with Auntie Sue.
I know.
So
it's kind of good.
Yeah.
It's all good. So yeah, it's the therapy thing, the stories, and I think we already talked about that we've done a lot of changes with the therapies. I wrote that on the board, I think because I wanted to kind of lead in to some behaviors and stuff that we've had with Bryce and how he's working through some stuff, which kind of goes with the training tools we've been getting and even our visit with Bryce's psychologist yesterday. Mm-hmm. So we did make a lot of changes, and those changes included new speech therapist, new occupational therapist at a new location. So that's 3 changes there. Then he got a new
time.
A new time. That's right. He is now going 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning instead of 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Which he used to sleep in, and he is now having to get up and leave here with me to drop him off when I go to work. And we're leaving at just after 8 o'clock. I'm telling you, he's doing great with it. And it makes my heart happy because I feel like now he's getting more into his day. But again, it's a lot of change for him. And waking up early, kind of switching from a late sleeper to an early riser, that's been another change for him that I really hadn't thought about till you said that. And that's true. And then his ABA team has changed, but he's really adjusting well to his new RBT who's working with him. And we're really happy to have Miss Felissa writing the plan and helping work that out. So it's all, every one of these are positive changes, and yet change is change, right? And we all can have issues with that. And then we changed churches, which we mentioned as well. We're working through some kinks with that. This morning when we went to church, he spoke up and said, there's one more thing that worries me about church. Okay, great. Tell us, what is it? And he goes, it's a little, in the treehouse room, it's a little too cold for me. And I remember the first time we went in there, the young girl that was in there kept saying it was freezing.
Yeah. And Bryce thinks it's cold too. So
sorry, I was coughing and Chris was trying to cover in a very weak manner. But anyway, she said it was freezing. It was freezing. And so I just told him we'll bring a jacket, which is an easy fix. And I said, do you think you can manage it today? And then you said, you came to us, Bryce, do you want to go into the service with mommy and daddy and be bored for an hour? Or do you want to go into the tree house where it's cold? And he's like, oh, I think I can manage for one day. Yeah. Okay, great.
Because we were already on the way to church.
We were, and we weren't going to turn around and go get a jacket.
Right.
But now we know for going forward. And it is cold in there. It's a legit thing. But it's good. A lot of changes. So I want to just explain, too, like what we saw happening, which was his frustration was peaking a little bit. And we've talked on here several times that he's now got this increasing aversion to the sound of babies crying or children crying. And now it's like it's on his radar. Like his head snaps and turns if there's a baby in the room or a child in the room. Let me tell you,
it's on the devil's radar too, because wherever we go, he's like, I'm going to put a baby in there.
Yeah, it's true. Good or bad. And that's the problem. Like, even if a child is being good and just making happy sounds or not saying anything, Bryce is so nervous that crying is going to start, that it's the anticipation of crying now that is kind of freezing him in his tracks than the actual crying sometimes. But I know that you had told me that, this was a couple weeks ago, that when you went to go pick him up, there was a crying baby, and this is very unlike Bryce, but he picked up a chair and threw it. Yes.
Yeah. There was a little plastic chair, a play chair, and Miss Brittany said he was fine, that they worked through it, and when they came into the waiting room, Bryce saw me and immediately restarted rethinking about it, and so I think I was talking to Miss Brittany about it, and he picked up a chair and threw it to the ground. And I'm like, what is going on? And, we're back to this, therapy place that we hadn't been to in a long time.
But still, it was like our first week.
And it's like, okay, Miss Brittany, trust me, Bryce, it's not like this all the time. Like, this is the first time ever he's thrown a chair, Yeah. She's probably like, yeah, okay.
I know.
He's, he was able to explain what happened, and so there's one child there that screams a lot, and I think he might be nonverbal, and it's going to happen. You have to have empathy and compassion for these kids. I have a special place in my heart for these kids that are not verbal. It just makes me sad thinking about it. But Bryce has this reaction to any type of loud noise, and we just have to make sure that we stay out of the vicinity of when that happens and what.
Well, here's what we're doing. Right, along those lines. And sometimes we can't always stay out of the vicinity. It is there. So Miss Felissa, when we were telling her about this, she's like, okay, well, I can come up with these tools. And interesting enough, Brianna, his new RBT, she was describing the same thing to me that she thought might be beneficial for Bryce that Felissa had already created for us. So I love that the two of them are in sync. We got the right team, even if they're not talking, they're like, wow, I'm coming up with the same solution for Bryce, which is great.
And the fact that his psychologist wants to collaborate with our ABA company, that's amazing too.
It is. He said that yesterday. And actually what he was starting to recommend was the exact same thing that Felissa had given us. So I feel like that's
on the same
three
page.
people, that is saying this is the way to help Bryce. And so what it is for listeners who may find this beneficial for them is she created, the laminated card, but she gave me one to take with me, like on the go, that gives Bryce choices that he can make if he's in a bad situation. And so we talked about what might be good options for him.
I felt like we did good today, or you did good. You really counseled him before we went into church, before we went into the restaurant, I think, or before we were going into these places.
And Lowe's, because he didn't want to go in.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what do we do if the situation presents itself? And then you gave him the options, and you talked about it, and that was perfect.
And that's what we got to do, right? And I think that's where this parent training has helped me. I mean, yes, we do great things with Bryce, and I think we really do our best and try a lot of things with him. But I think sometimes having someone come alongside us and give us those reminders, like that helped me to know, okay, this morning before we went into church, we said, okay, there could be screaming, or someone could be loud in the classroom. What are your choices? And so I showed him again, what are your choices? And it was interesting because his choices on there were like he can take a walk. He can ask to go take a walk. He can put on his headphones, which is a given, and we take those, so that's optional. He can squeeze his hands because Bryce likes to be squeezed. But she was trying to think of ways that he could soothe himself, not somebody else soothe him, because he really does look to me or you to give him hugs sometimes to bring him out of the sadness, but he's got to learn to do it for himself because we may not always be available to give that squeeze or that hug. So she said squeezing his hands, which he hasn't taken to that yet, but I showed him that. But then he saw sensory on there and he goes, sensory, what's that? Well, we recently had a young girl who was a photography client of ours. She was getting rid of all of her sensory items.
Fidgets, yeah.
Her fidgets. And thank you, that was the word. And her mom sent me a note and said, she's ready to give them up. It's hard for her, but she knows she wants to give them to someone that it would help. And I thought of Bryce. And I'm like, sure. And so they brought him and dropped him off at the house. And so I brought out the box today. And then he chose one to take to church. And I guess he had it out spinning a couple of times in the treehouse room because Sarah told me that. And then she said he had it back in his pocket. And then when we were in Lowe's, he goes, guess what's in my pocket, Mommy? And I'm like, what's in your pocket? And then he showed me, it's one of those spinner fidgets, but it also has like buttons that he can push. And I saw him using it later this afternoon when something was upsetting him. He was having some anxiety about tummy pains he was having, and he had the fidget and he was spinning it. So it's great that he's figuring out ways to self-soothe is really wonderful. And I do think, like what you were saying, if we do the counseling before we go into places, then that's great. So yesterday we were going into Chick-fil-A and after the doctor's office. And so again, I'm like, wow, we're about to go into Chick-fil-A where there's bound to be children,
Yeah.
Let's give them the choices. So we did that yesterday. And so he was all prepped and we go in and you were still up there getting the drinks and he and we let him choose the table. So he went and chose the table and there was, the little girl beside us was, I'm going to guess like 3 or 4 beside her mom, or she was with her mom. And then he looked at her and he goes, that's an adorable child. And he said kid. He goes, she's an adorable kid. And I said, yeah, she is. I said, she's beautiful. And so that's all he said. And then we got up, into our chairs because we're on the high top. And I think that was really good because I'm trying to tell him people aren't trying to hurt you. It's like you said, we got to teach him the empathy, for these kids who are upset. I said, normally they're sad or they're hungry or they're frustrated and they don't know what words to use. And sometimes it's just because they're excited and they're happy.
And for whatever reason, he thinks it's It's toward him.
He thinks it's personal. Like he says, they're trying to break
hurt
my ears.
Yeah.
We're like, no, they're not trying to hurt you, and they're not trying to break your ears. So just know it's not for you. It's just what they do. So I think if we continue to counsel him and coach him and prepare him, all those things, Felicia's right. That's going to help better. And I'm going to give her that feedback when we see her this week, that's really helpful. And then I'm going to think of maybe a few more options on the card for him. And maybe she can make 4 options so it's smaller and it fits in my purse.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that'd be good.
The idea is great. Really good. And I share that because I want other listeners who maybe are having similar situations, maybe they can ask their therapist about it if they have one, or their BCBA, or if not, that's just something they can do. Or you can reach out to us and we can send you pictures of showing you what we're working with and help with that.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. And I am super happy he's been working through that. Now, it's kind of a funny note. So Bryce is working through all of this, and I know it sounds like we eat out a lot, because we kind of do, but we were at Taco Tuesday.
It's because of our darn schedule.
I know, we're going to work on this. But anyway, we had Taco Tuesday, which we do that because A, it's inexpensive, and B, it's yummy. But so on Tuesdays, we go to Taco Tuesday. So we were there, and there was a baby there. And this was baby, I would say, around 1. And he was sitting in his chair.
And you weren't there yet.
I wasn't there yet. So what happened before I got there?
Well, the baby made some chirps. Like
happy chirps?
It was hard to tell. It really was. It was like, okay, is that happy? Is that sad? Is it a prelude to what's to come?
Yeah. So you were both on edge, weren't you?
Well, I was on edge because he was on edge.
I know. And he was on edge because he didn't know if the baby was going to cry or not.
It was like instant staring at her from his side of the table. I'm like, oh, Lord. And I thought, well, I'll go get the headphones. Nope, I can't leave him in the restaurant by himself and go all the way out to where we parked and get the headphones. And so I'm like, all right, well, I just talked to him until you got there, and I tried to diffuse it. Maybe the baby's happy, the baby's not crying, blah, blah, blah. I used, all the jargon.
Yes.
And then you got there, and I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to get the headphones.
Yes.
So, but he did good. We put the headphones on the table, and did the baby start to cry?
Not cry, but made some sounds.
A lot more frequent sounds,
more vocal,
right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, Bryce, you can put your headphones on. And he's like, no.
He goes, no, I want to be brave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you can tell him what he did with his game.
Okay, so he is learning his own way of how to cope with these situations, which is great because that's what we're trying to teach him and try to give him options. So he had his Switch, and he was playing a game while he was waiting for the food to come. And he shows me, I think you had gone to the bathroom. And so he says, Mommy, look at this. This is a baby on here. So I look over, and he was pointing to something that was on his game that was not a baby, but what he was perceiving to be a baby. And then he took his golden hammer and he whacked the baby about 10 times.
And then Lord, help us.
I did start laughing, and then Bryce goes, I'm funny. I'm funny.
We can never buy him a real gold hammer.
So I said, well, Bryce, I really don't think you should hit the baby, but if that helps you, I get it. I do. I get it. He's trying to prevent the baby from crying. And that's all he was trying to do in his mind. If he whacked that baby, it would stop the baby from crying. So when we were getting ready to leave, I thought...
You did the right thing.
Right. So I said, I've got to take him over to that baby so that he does not associate that all babies are a bad thing. It's really important. And so I knew I might get some crazy looks from the parents, and that was okay with me. But I walked Bryce over and I said, hi. I interrupted their dinner. So I'm like, excuse me. Hi, this is Bryce. And he kind of has an aversion to babies and babies crying, but I want him to understand that babies are also okay and happy and playful. And so I just wanted him to come over so he could say hi to your son. And so the mom did look at me like I had a couple of heads, and the dad was totally in. He was like, sure. And then he says to the little boy, he's like, wave to him. And then the little boy just starts waving his hand, and Bryce is like sucking on his straw, like chewing it, like nervous. And I said, did you see that, Bryce? He's a happy, friendly baby. He goes, yes. And I said, do you want to wave back to him? Okay. And then he took his cup down, and then he waved to him, and then the baby waved back, and they're waving back and forth to each other. And then Bryce goes, he's adorable. I said, he is adorable. And then I said, thank you. I really appreciate that. And then we left.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean,
he needs to remember that situation.
I want him to remember a positive thing like that. So, and I think yesterday when we went to Chick-fil-A and they had the playground, and he wanted to go in and play. And he hasn't done that in a while. And a couple little girls went in there. So we were letting them do their thing. And he had his headphones because we're learning to take them in so that it's an option for him. Anytime we could anticipate that there's other children or people
Noises
that are going to scream, we'll have it. So I'm like, you want to go in there with the headphones or without? I said, because kids could be excited and happy in there. And if they are, they could scream. I'll take him. Okay. So he's in there playing, and these two little girls were in there. And then I went in because I was going to take a picture of him with my phone, and I could hear the girl screaming quite loudly. But she said, and another little boy came in. I heard her go, now there's two monsters. So they're pretending that Bryce was the monster. And so anytime he came near them, they would scream, as you would if a monster was coming near you. He stayed in there for a long time with them, even with them screaming, because they were having fun. He knew it was in a fun, happy scream and not an angry, sad kind of cry, because that makes him sad if he sees somebody crying and screaming because they're sad. So once he knew it was happy, he tolerated it. And then what happened at the end? You said there was a lot of screaming that happened?
Oh, well, there
were a lot of kids in there.
Yeah, there was probably a half a dozen kids.
Oh, but you know what he said? He didn't come out because of the screaming. He made the choice. He came out, and then he goes, I felt like it was dangerous. Oh, I said, you did?
I didn't know he said that.
Yeah, he said, I felt like I could fall off of there because there were so many kids. And I said, well, you know what? That was a great decision, because they had the stairs that kind of wound up. And I said, I think that was a great decision. And you sensed it and you left. That's awesome. I'm very proud of you. So that's him advocating for himself when he knew that he felt that it was dangerous, So to me, those are huge strides in Bryce's progress. That
it was fun to watch him with the other kids.
Yeah, it was. So, so those are all the headlines. I really think I did write two other funny stories. And these have nothing to do with parent training or therapy, but they are pretty funny. So the first one was, you said to me a couple weeks ago, so Bryce is really interested in getting a dog. He's talking a lot about getting a dog. I'm like, why? And he's like, why would he want a dog all of a sudden? Yeah. And you're like, I don't know, but he's been talking about it. So I just said to Bryce,
I was prepping you, I think, because
you were on your way home, was going to bring it up. Yeah.
So I texted you.
So we're there, and I said, Bryce, why do you want a dog? And he says, for Febreze. For the Febreze spray, because he loves the Febreze commercial, and they're always spraying on the couch to get rid of the pet scent. Yeah. And because we won't buy it. So that was pretty funny.
First he was like, oh, because I would want to walk him around the block with you. And I'm like, yeah,
he doesn't want to do that.
And, it was like going around the block.
That's true. He didn't say
beating around
right
the
away,
bush is what he was doing. He didn't say it right away. And they're like, okay, what's the real reason, Bryce? And then he said, because I could get to use the Febreze. I'm like, we're not getting a dog just so you can use Febreze.
I think that's hilarious.
He says funny things. Yeah.
Okay, so then his latest funny thing this week was, oh my word. Okay, so we are working with him
in the bath. So we have this timer. We got it from Amazon. When it goes off, it sounds like a smoke alarm. It's like beep, 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 like that, or a watch alarm or something. No,
it sounds like a smoke alarm.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
So we set it for 20 minutes, and I set it across the bathroom from him so that he can't reach it from the tub. So he's got to get out of the tub to turn it off. Because otherwise he'll just stay in there forever and forget to wash and all that stuff.
It's his prompt to wash.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it goes off, and I guess he washed, but he didn't get out or something. Anyway, I reset it, and then it went off again, and then I heard him getting out of the tub. I'm like, okay, finally he's getting out of the tub. And then
that's it.
We got him in his jammies.
Yep,
right?
And then it's bedtime. And I always go to bed, I would say 90% of the time, I will go to bed earlier than you guys if I get up earlier.
Right.
Although we've been trying to go, all of us, because of Bryce's new schedule. But anyway, it's not unusual for me to go to bed first. We'll put it that way. So I was ready to go to bed, and I think you were still working on something. So he says, "It's okay, Mommy. You go to bed now. You're so adorable." He gives me kisses.
Tired.
You're tired. You go get some good sleep and good dreams with no belly aches. Okay, because that's what we always pray. Okay, and I gave him a kiss, and then he says, "And Daddy, you go to bed with me tonight, okay? Just go to bed with me for an hour, okay?"
Says, will you stay with me for an hour? I'm like, okay. He usually falls asleep within 15 minutes.
And you usually, if he'll ask you to go to bed with him, that's normal. He normally doesn't put a time with it.
Yeah.
But it did not strike me unusual. I just thought, I thought because he knows we leave when he falls asleep, that he really wanted to make sure that you were there long enough for him to fall into a good sleep.
Made sense to me. He was excited about it.
Oh, he was very, and then when I said I'm going to bed and you said you would say, he goes, "Epic." I'm like, I've never seen him so
that was part of his plan.
Excited about this or not. But we were going along with his plan, apparently. So I go to bed, and it takes me an hour or so to fall asleep. I have a really hard time because my brain recaps my day, and I wish I could fall asleep faster, but I can't. So I was just about asleep when I hear what I think is the smoke alarm. So I wake up and I hear that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the smoke alarm is going off. So I get out of bed and I stumble out into the living room where the smoke alarm is, and I'm not hearing it. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And again, I was almost asleep, so I was very foggy.
And at the same time, I'm across the house in Bryce's bed, and he's got a sound machine on that helps him sleep. It's just white noise. So he had just fallen asleep. I'm hearing this really faint.
Yeah, it would have been faint for you.
What is that going on? I'm like, did somebody set an alarm for something? So I'm like, okay, Bryce is asleep. I can leave. So I got up out of his bed.
So as you're coming,
I'm coming across the kitchen,
and
you're up.
I'm up, and then I heard it coming from over by your side of the bed on your dresser, and I go over there, and there is Bryce's alarm.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? You're like, oh, what did you say? You're like, I don't know.
No, I think I found it then. I said, it's his alarm, and I was trying to turn it off. I was like finding the button, and I think I handed it to you because you came in, and then you got it turned off, and I just crawled back into bed. And then you're like, he's asleep. I'm like, good. Okay, good night, right? Because I was like so ready to fall back asleep. That's all I thought about it, right? Like, I don't know how it got in there. I don't know why it went off. Good night. So the next morning, we're getting ready for therapy. And Bryce says...
No, I said, we figured...
No, it was Bryce.
I know, but we talked about it before we talked to Bryce.
No,
I think we figured it out.
No, I don't, honey. Here's what I think. Okay, well, here's my version. Then you can tell me I'm wrong. Bryce said to me, "Mommy, did you hear something last night?" He asked me first. And then I said, "Yeah, actually I did. An alarm went off." And then I saw him start to smile. And I'm like, "Did you put that in there on purpose?" And then he says, "I'm funny." And then you said, "Oh, that's why he told me to stay in there for at least an hour." Because, that's what he said to me. Did it go, when did you hear it? After an hour? That's when I'm like, yeah, I guess. And then it took a moment, and then you did put it together, and that's when you're going, that's why you asked me to stay in there for at least an hour. And then he started laughing.
He was belly laughing.
Oh, and then we started laughing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I told you, that's the kind of prank I would have pulled when I was 9 years old. So he got that from me. That is my gene coming back to bite me in the butt. But it was funny. But then with Bryce, if he thinks something is funny, he will do it continuously, thinking you'll get the same laugh. So I made it really clear to him. I said, it was funny once. It will not be funny the second time. Don't do it again. So that night, I went into the bedroom, and he's reading these new reading apps, which we should talk about. And I look over to the left, and there is that alarm up on your dresser.
He put it back?
He put it back. So he was reading his book, and I got up, and I went and I got it, and I put it away. And
you know where I put it?
No.
It was on top of the refrigerator.
After
that morning, I put it up on top of the refrigerator so he wouldn't do it again. So he got up. He found it first. He must have found it on top of the refrigerator.
Well, he must have.
Got up on a chair, got it down, and then put it back on the dresser.
Well, I saw it on your dresser.
That stinker.
Actually, I saw it on your dresser before he came in to read the books for bedtime. I saw it, and I'm like, homie, don't play that. So I was like, I took it off, and I put it away. So I saw when he was in there reading, he looked over to the left with a little grin on his face toward the dresser. And I said to him, you can't do it twice. And then he saw it was gone, and then he just grinned at me. He was busted. We didn't say another word. That was it.
Listen, if I had done that to my parents, it would have been bad news. I wouldn't even have done that. So
out of fear?
Yes. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I would have. I don't know if I'd have done that. One time to my dad, I had this like a fake finger that looked like it was cut. Did you ever see that? I loved going to the gag store. Okay, so that was like goes on your index finger. So he was out back chopping wood, and he had an axe. And well, I'm telling the listeners because I know you know this. So he was chopping the wood, and he was saying, "Kids, get back, it's dangerous." But I had to get close enough that I could pretend that I put my finger in there. So right when he went for the whack, put it like toward the wood, and then I pulled it back and I grabbed it, and I'm like, oh, my finger, and he's like, what? I told you. And then he's looking at it, and then I pulled it off. I'm like, gotcha.
Oh man. And you didn't get a spanking for that?
I can't remember. I got yelled at, like, get out of here. So I did, and I get it, but yeah, that's kind of prank. So anyway.
Let's wrap up by telling about the two new apps that we're using.
That would be good.
So, as you guys probably know, Bryce has trouble reading. And so we're trying to get him to read more and slower. So I found these two apps. One is called Khan Academy Kids.
Khan.
Yep. And so that's a free app. And they actually have like math and language arts and other things. But they have a library of books that you can click on, and it will read to you the story, and while it's reading, it highlights the word as it's reading. And so Bryce just immediately fell in love with it, and it plays like a little soft piano music in the background. It'll play what's the song?
Different nursery rhymes.
Bingo.
Bingo. She'll be coming around the mountain.
Yeah, the mouse, the rat, or whatever.
Three Blind Mice.
Yeah.
Which I had to tell him those lyrics. Those are fun.
Anyway, so he really likes that. And then I found another one called Get Epic, EPIC. And that's a paid version. So it's, I don't know, it's like $79 a year or something. But it not only it's the library they have is huge. Like, I mean, Khan Academy Kids library is, I would say, small. We would be able to finish that library within a month, I would say.
Okay.
But I mean, the Get Epic app has thousands of books, and so it will also read to you, but the reading is slower, more intent. The words are more pronounced,
Yeah.
the pronunciation of the words. And as it moves over the word that it's saying, it magnifies the word. So the word kind of jumps off the page so that you can really see it. And you can also tap on words and it'll give you the definition of a word. So I asked him which one he liked better, and he liked the Get Epic reading better because it magnifies those words.
He was emphatic about that.
Yeah. And we're not sure, how much of this is autism, how much of it is ADHD, how much of it is the stroke that he had when he was a baby.
Auditory processing disorder, the slow learning.
Yep, and his occipital lobe, which is vision. We know that he skips words, he replaces words, he sounds them out differently, he adds letters, subtracts letters. It's really kind of wild, but I thought, well, if we could have a program read to him for a while so that he can kind of get the cadence of reading, when to pause and how fast or slow to read. And then while he's listening, he can be seeing these words and how they're pronounced. And I thought that would be good for him. And he is really glued to it. He looks forward to it every night.
Well, I think what you described is great. Like, it is teaching him how to read. Like, he's hearing it. So they're modeling it for him. Like, this is how you would read a book. I think he also understands the majority of the words. But I think it's like what Dr. Williamson said yesterday, is he comprehending it? Because we're trying to get past the phonics part, He said but I think he's getting
comprehension really comes like 5th and 6th grade, right? So phonics is in the early grades, like 2nd grade, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I think he said. And then we're into decoding, is that what he said?
Yes.
For 4th grade. 3rd and 4th grade is more like decoding sounds, more still phonics, but I don't know. I forget his exact terminology. But then he said the comprehension, they're expecting more comprehension once you reach the 5th and 6th grade. But
I said to Bryce when that book was being read to him the other night about the giraffe calves, the baby calves, giraffes. And I said to him, do you understand what this story's about? And he's like, yes. I said, what's it about? He's like, baby giraffes. I'm like, okay. And then he was doing the penguin one. I'm like, do you understand what the story's about? Yes, it's the penguins. I didn't go into like what the penguins do, but there was a test afterwards. So he goes, do I have to take this test? I go, no, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. So this was on the penguins, and he took the first question, and it said, where do penguins live? Antarctica, Texas, or one other option? And he's like, Antarctica. So he hit that one. And then the next question was, where do the baby penguins hide when there's something? And it was something about the father. And he goes, how do I escape this? I said, it's right there. I said, right there's the exit. Because I want this to not feel like school to him. Yeah. I want this to feel like fun for him. And if he wants to do the questions, great. That can be fun. And if they're too hard or you don't get it, no worries, back out, because this is fun time.
At least he's training his eyes.
Yep.
He's training his brain on what sounds like, the whole thing.
Well, and also, like I was saying, he has the auditory processing disorder. And I think him seeing and hearing at the same time like that may help them connect as well. So I think it's great all the way around. And I didn't realize that it costs money, but I think it's worth every dollar for Bryce.
Yeah, they had a 50% off.
Other families can benefit from this.
Somehow I got an email that if you sign up on your computer, not through the app, there's a way that you can get 50% off.
Sweet.
So just, if you're looking to do that, just look for that.
All right. Well, I think we've shared enough today. I know Bryce wants to tell them about his trophy. We may or may not have him added to this later. We'll see how it goes when he finishes with Auntie Sue. If not, he'll be telling you about it next time.
Hi, this is Parenting Autism, Bryce. My name is Bryce Coulter, and I want to show you something. I completed grade 3 school, and I have a trophy that right here. It says 2023, it says Bryce Coulter completed 3rd grade daddy school.
That's pretty awesome, Bryce. As you can tell, we're back with Bryce, and he wanted to share about his 2023 accomplishment with Daddy School. And now what grade are we doing?
We're doing 4th grade.
4th grade, and what's your favorite thing about 4th grade?
Science.
You really liking science, huh?
Yep.
That's cool.
We forgot to do the science experiment.
Oh, that's right. We were going to do one today, weren't we?
Can we do it?
Yeah, we can get that. We can get the box out and do an experiment. You want to do that?
Of course.
Yep. Are you a little distracted right now with your trophy?
No, I kind of want to play Mario Party Superstars because it's making me want to play because I haven't played it in a long time recently.
Oh, okay.
Can you tell them what it looks like? Tell them what your trophy looks like.
It looks like an achievement of soccer, pretty much.
Yeah, it looks like your soccer trophy. Tell them the colors.
The colors are gold and black.
And how big is it?
Yeah, about how tall is it, you think?
It's tall, like about 1 foot.
Okay. And what are the shapes on it?
The shape?
Do you see shapes?
No.
Yeah? What is this shape right here?
It's a star.
Oh, yep, there's stars on there by your 2023.
And this is a circle.
There's a circle.
Does it have a special ability?
It does not.
Are you sure?
It doesn't?
You can turn.
Yeah, you can turn the ball in the middle, right?
It is really... And what's down here?
Marble.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's got marble. See, now-
And there's Bryce Coulter, completed 3rd grade daddy school.
Yeah. And that's a gold
I have
plate.
another surprise for you, actually.
For me or for the listeners?
For the listeners.
What's that?
What could that be?
I know what it is, but I'm going to go get it.
Is it on your Switch?
No, it's in real life.
It's
Oh,
in real
good.
life?
Go get it.
All right.
Let's see what this special thing is. It sounds large. They're getting something out of his closet. Apparently it's on the top shelf.
Yeah, it's another trophy.
Oh,
It's
wow.
up on the shelf.
Ooh, what is this one, Bryce?
It is from soccer.
Wow.
It is definitely from soccer for sure.
And what's that for?
That
Does it
is
say?
from the Metro Soccer Club Top Soccer 2018.
Whoa.
Let's describe that one.
Yeah, how's that?
And that one's more beautiful than my 3rd grade trophy.
Oh, wow.
What makes it more beautiful?
It has a golden vein up there.
Oh, the gold.
And there's a gem.
There's a green gem
Wow.
and a gold top that has a soccer ball on it. How tall is this one?
This one's it's about my height, about 2 feet.
Yeah, it's about 2 feet.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
That's special, isn't
That
it?
is beautiful. You worked hard for that playing soccer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll be playing
Okay,
soccer.
we'll say bye for
Okay.
now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.